All right, welcome. Today, we are diving into something we all use every single day: money. But this isn't just about dollars and cents. We're talking about an incredible journey, a story that spans thousands of years, from ancient bartering all the way to, you guessed it, the simple tap of your phone.
So let me ask you something. Think about the last thing you bought. Seriously, what was it? Your morning coffee? Maybe something you ordered online last night? How did you actually pay for it?
Yeah, for most of us, right? It was probably a quick tap of a card or maybe your phone. It feels so simple, so instant. It's almost like magic. But here's the thing, that effortless little tap, it's really just a final tiny chapter in this massive 5,000-year saga. A story that's all about power, about trust, and a ton of innovation. So let's do this. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. Okay, so to really get our heads around what money is, we first have to picture a world without it at all. A world that ran on a system we call barter. Bartering, it's pretty straightforward on the surface. It's the direct trade of stuff. I've got something you want, you've got something I want. Let's make a deal. So a farmer could trade a bushel of wheat directly with the shoemaker for a new pair of shoes. And for a while, in really small, simple communities, it worked. But, and it's a big but, the barter system just completely breaks down as soon as societies get a little bigger. And it's for a few really key reasons. First, you've got what's called the coincidence of wants. Think about it. A fisherman who needs milk has to find a dairy farmer who just so happens to want fish, right at that very moment. Good luck. Then there's the value problem. Okay, so how many chickens is one cow worth? 10, 20? Who decides? Plus, you can't exactly chop off a leg of a live cow to pay for something small, right? That's the division problem. And finally, you can't really save for the future if your money is, milk or fish. It's just going to spoil. So, yeah. People needed a better solution, and they needed it fast. And that solution? Well, it sparked the first great revolution in this whole story of money: the invention of coins. What's really fascinating is that this idea for coins seems to have popped up in different parts of the world at almost the exact same time. Over in China, around the 640 BCE, you had a mint churning out these little spade-shaped metal coins. And then at practically the same time, all the way over in Lydia, that's modern-day Turkey, a king named Eliates started minting the first round coins that we'd recognize today, made from something called electrum, which is a natural mix of gold and silver. So King Eliates' son, a guy named Croesus, he took it even further. He created the very first pure gold coin. And his wealth became so legendary that it actually gave us that phrase we still use today: as rich as Croesus. I mean, that just goes to show you how much of a game changer this invention really was. And you can see why, right? Coins were revolutionary because they solved every single one of the problems with barter we just talked about. They were universally accepted, so you didn't need that coincidence of wants anymore. They had standardized values, they came in different sizes so they were divisible, and of course they were durable and easy to carry around. It was the perfect solution. Or so they thought. See, because as trade and empires grew, even shiny, perfect coins started to create a whole new set of problems. And this, in turn, led to the next giant leap forward: putting the promise of value onto a piece of paper. The problem was actually really simple when you think about it. If you're a successful merchant, you're not just carrying a few coins in your pocket. You're lugging around massive chests full of gold and silver. Not only is that incredibly heavy and inconvenient, but it basically paints a giant target on your back for every robber in a 100-mile radius. There had to be a safer, lighter way to do business. I guess who was at the forefront of this innovation? Yep, China again. Way back in the 11th century, during the Song dynasty, merchants started using these deposit receipts for their heavy coins. The government saw this and thought, hey, that's a great idea, and they formalized it into the world's first actual paper money. It was so effective that when Marco Polo showed up in China nearly 2 centuries later, he was just blown away by it. But this idea wasn't just in China. Get this, in the 1600s, a French colony over in Canada literally ran out of coins, so they ingeniously started paying their soldiers with signed playing cards. And it worked. People accepted them as currency. And this quote from Marco Polo just nails it. He wrote that people accepted these paper notes just as well as if they were coins of pure gold. I mean, think about that. That's a huge mental leap. People were treating a piece of paper like it was solid gold, and it was all based on one thing: trust in the authority that issued it. But where there's trust, you also have incredibly high stakes. Just look at this warning printed on some of those early Chinese notes: those who are counterfeiting will be beheaded. Whoa. It makes it crystal clear, right? If this whole system was going to work, the government had to guarantee its integrity. And the punishment for breaking that trust, well, it was brutal. So this absolute reliance on trust, it really set the stage for the most radical, most mind-bending transformation of all. This is the moment when money stopped being a physical thing you could hold and became almost purely an idea. We call this new form fiat money. The word fiat is Latin, and it basically means let it be done, or by decree. So it's money that has value simply because a government says it does. That's it. It's not backed by a promise of gold. It's not backed by silver. It's backed only by our collective faith in the stability of that government. For a long, long time, most major currencies operated on what was called a gold standard. It was a simple promise. You could take your paper money to a bank and exchange it for a fixed amount of actual gold. But then came 1971. In a move that sent absolute shockwaves through the global economy, the U.S. president at the time, Richard Nixon, completely severed the U.S. dollar's link to gold. And just like that, with one decision, money was officially cut loose from any physical thing. The whole world pretty much shifted over to a fiat system.
And, once money became a pure abstraction, just an idea backed by trust, it was a pretty small step to get rid of the paper, too. And that brings us right into our modern world, the digital dematerialization of money. I mean, the pace of change in this phase is just staggering. The very first credit cards didn't even show up until the 1950s. Then we got debit cards in the 70s. The internet boom in the late 90s gave us PayPal, which totally changed online shopping. And now? Well, now our smartphones have become our wallets. Money isn't even a physical object for most transactions anymore. It's just a string of data.
And the sheer scale of this digital shift is, frankly, mind-boggling. By 2028, the total value of all digital payments is projected to hit $16.59 trillion. Trillion. We have absolutely moved from a world of physical exchange to a world completely dominated by bits and bytes. Which, of course, brings us right up to today. We're standing on the very edge of the next potential revolution in this incredible, long story. So, what is the next form of money? Well, this is where you start hearing about things like cryptocurrency. You see, while our traditional fiat money is centralized, it's controlled by governments and big banks, cryptocurrencies are the opposite. They're decentralized. Their value isn't based on faith in an institution. It's based on trust in mathematics and computer code, all verified across a global network. And at the exact same time, many of those same governments are exploring their own version of digital money, something called central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. That would kind of blend the new digital format with the old centralized control. So from trading shells in wheat, to minting gold coins, to trusting in little pieces of paper, all the way to just tapping our phones, the evolution of money is really the story of us. It's the story of human civilization. It tracks our ever-changing ideas about value, trust, and technology. And so the only real question left is, what does the next chapter look like?